What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And if you are new here, welcome. You found the right place for everything New York Rangers. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because things around Broadway are moving fast right now, and you do not want to miss a single update. Today we are diving deep into the Rangers trade rumor mill, which I want to tell you right now has not cooled down one single degree. In fact, if anything, it feels like it is only getting hotter as we creep closer and closer to training camp. There is a lot to unpack, so grab your coffee, sit back, and let's get into it. Let's start by setting the table because context matters here. The 2025-26 New York Rangers season was, to put it charitably, a disaster. The team finished dead last in the Eastern Conference. Dead last. That is not the position you expect from an organization with the talent and market size of the Rangers, and honestly, the fan base deserved better. But here is the thing. Out of the rubble of that season, General Manager Chris Drury has been on a mission to reshape this roster from the ground up, and the moves he has made so far have been significant. We already saw Artemi Panarin get dealt to the Los Angeles Kings. We saw the Vincent Trocheck era come to an end after he was finally moved this summer, a trade that had been telegraphed for months and months. Will Borgen was shipped out. Adam Edstrom was sent to Nashville. The Rangers have been busy. But here is the burning question that every single Rangers fan is asking right now. Is Chris Drury done? And based on everything we are hearing, the answer appears to be absolutely not. Let's talk about the Trocheck trade for a second because there is a lot of nuance there that deserves more attention. Trocheck was one of the most productive centers this organization has had in years. The guy scored 20-plus goals in each of his first 3 seasons in New York, and put up a career-high 77 points back in the 2023-24 season. He was a warrior. He was a leader in that locker room. And yet, the writing was on the wall once Drury sent that letter to fans in January signaling a full-on retool. From that moment forward, Trocheck was the most coveted center on the trade market, and rightfully so. He still had term on his contract, he was a proven winner, and teams were lining up. Drury held out, did not move him at the trade deadline, took the heat for that decision, and then finally got his deal done this summer. According to reports out of Outside the Garden, Drury personally called Trocheck to thank him for his professionalism and leadership throughout his entire tenure in New York, which says a lot about how that relationship was handled. Class act on both sides. But now Trocheck is gone. There is a significant void down the middle of the ice, and Chris Drury knows it. That is where the rumors start getting really interesting. Right now, the name that is generating the most buzz around the Rangers is Patrik Laine. Now, this is a fascinating one because Laine remains unsigned as we sit here in late August, which almost nobody expected. The former second overall pick in the 2016 NHL draft, a guy who once scored 44 goals in a single season, is still sitting in free agency, and the Rangers are reportedly among the teams that have serious interest. Multiple outlets have connected New York to Laine, and given that Drury has publicly stated he is still searching for another forward before training camp opens, the timing could not be more relevant. The Rangers ranked 23rd in the entire league in goals scored during the 2025-26 season, with just 235 non-shootout goals. That is a staggering number for a market this big, a team this expensive. Drury knows offense is the issue. Laine, when healthy and engaged, is one of the most lethal goal scorers on the planet. The question has always been health and consistency. He qualifies for a performance-based contract because of his injury history, which means his base cap hit would be manageable and the risk would be largely controlled. For a team in retool mode trying to bridge toward contention, that kind of calculated gamble could make a lot of sense. No formal offer has been confirmed, but the Rangers are absolutely in the mix, and with training camp coming up in about 5 weeks, this one could move quickly. But Laine is not even the biggest name being thrown around in connection with the Rangers. No, that distinction belongs to a guy who has been linked to New York for what feels like forever, Brady Tkachuk of the Ottawa Senators. Now, I know what you might be thinking, we have heard this before. And you are right, the Rangers and Tkachuk rumors go back years at this point. But here is why this summer felt different. There were clear signs of tension between Tkachuk and the Ottawa organization, and after the Senators' playoff run ended, Bleacher Report came out and named the Rangers as the #1 landing spot for Tkachuk if he were to become available. Think about what that would mean for this team. Tkachuk is a power forward in the truest sense of the word, big, physical, relentless, capable of putting up elite offensive numbers while also being an absolute nightmare to play against. He would change the identity of this Rangers team overnight. However, the Rangers' own beat writer Vince Mercogliano of The Athletic was pretty candid about the reality here. New York probably does not have the asset package to pull off that kind of deal. Their prospect pool is described as average at best, and while Drury did accumulate 7 picks in the first 3 rounds of the 2026 draft, picks alone are unlikely to get Tkachuk out of Ottawa. This one would require Tkachuk to essentially demand a trade to New York specifically. And while the Rangers fan in all of us wants to believe that happens, we have to be realistic and acknowledge that it remains a long shot for now. Still, stranger things have happened, and you better believe Drury's phone would ring in a heartbeat if that door opened even slightly. Now let's shift to a name that does not get nearly enough attention in these conversations, and that is Braden Schneider. This is where things get genuinely complicated for the Rangers. Schneider is a 24-year-old right-handed defenseman, and he just signed an extension this past July, which on the surface suggests the Rangers want to keep him. But the rumors will not die. Sources around the league have speculated that Schneider was actually the centerpiece of a Rangers offer for Mason McTavish before McTavish ultimately got dealt to the St. Louis Blues. That tells you 2 things. 1, other teams view Schneider as a legitimate asset, and 2, Drury has been willing to at least explore moving him if the right top 6 forward came back in return. When Drury was pressed publicly about Schneider's future, he was notably coy, saying the team is still tinkering and looking at any way possible to help the team before opening night. That is not exactly a ringing endorsement of Schneider's long-term status, and the hockey world took notice. With fellow right-handed defenseman Will Borgen already dealt this offseason, the Rangers' blue line depth at that position is thinning, which makes any further Schneider movement even more of a storyline to monitor. Keep a very close eye on this one because it feels like the Rangers are one attractive offer away from pulling the trigger. Now, amidst all of this roster movement and uncertainty, there is one genuinely exciting storyline that represents the future of this franchise, and that is Gabriel Perreault. The 21-year-old winger out of Boston College was arguably the brightest spot in an otherwise dark 2025-26 season for the Rangers. He finished his rookie campaign with 12 goals and 27 points in 49 games while averaging nearly 16 minutes of ice time per night. For a rookie on a struggling team going through a retool, those numbers are genuinely impressive. The Athletic's Vince Mercogliano has made the case publicly that the Rangers should prioritize locking Perreault up long-term, and frankly, it is hard to argue with that logic. This is exactly the kind of homegrown talent that you build around. The Rangers currently have only 4 forwards signed beyond the 2026-27 season, which gives them enormous flexibility, but it also means they need to start making smart decisions about who their core is going to be. Perreault should absolutely be part of that conversation. If the Rangers are going to retool the right way, not just trade veterans for assets and hope for the best, but actually construct a roster with a winning identity, guys like Perreault need to be the foundation. And speaking of guys drawing attention from the outside, we cannot skip over the Taylor Raddysh situation. According to a report from the Toronto Sports Rush podcast, the Toronto Maple Leafs have shown trade interest in the Rangers forward. Now, Raddysh is projected as a bottom 6 contributor, a third-line right-wing type. Moving him would thin out an already not deep forward group. So why would the Rangers even consider it? Because if Raddysh is being moved, it almost certainly means another move is imminent to fill that spot. Some have speculated that dealing Raddysh could be a signal that Schneider is on his way out in exchange for a legitimate top 6 forward, or that the Rangers are getting close to something with Patrick Lane and need to free up a roster spot before pulling the trigger. Or, and this is the most intriguing possibility, maybe young wingers like Liam Greentree are ready to step in and earn that role. Either way, the Raddysh situation is a canary in a coal mine for whatever bigger move might be coming next. What makes this entire Rangers offseason so fascinating is the sheer scale of transformation happening in real time. Think about where this team was just a year ago. A veteran core that was supposed to be competing for Stanley Cups, players like Panarin and Trocheck and Borgen and others as the pillars of the lineup. Now almost all of them are gone. In their place, you have Oliver Bjorkstrand signed as the second-line right wing, Pavel Dorofeyev brought in on an extension, young pieces like Perreault and Adam Sikora getting opportunities, And new head coach Mike Sullivan, yes, the two-time Stanley Cup champion from Pittsburgh, now running the bench after being hired last May. Sullivan's presence alone changes the temperature of everything. This is a guy who has been there, who knows what winning looks like, and whose track record with young rosters is undeniable. The Rangers are not just clearing cap space and collecting picks. They brought in a proven winner to lead the next chapter. And that brings us